Guys, welcome to the Caring for Creatures show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you so much for joining us on a Thursday on the I Love CVille network. Caring for Creatures is Charlottesville and Central Virginia's first no-kill animal sanctuary. More than 30 years of saving the most at-risk animals up and down the eastern seaboard, bringing them to CFC, Caring for Creatures, at a massive sanctuary in Fluvanna County, and giving them a second, third, sometimes a fourth shot at life. Check out Caring for Creatures at caringforcreatures.org. Judah, if we could go to the two-shot, and let's welcome Diane to the show. Diane, you have the dubious distinction of subbing in for Mary Burkholtz this afternoon. Good afternoon, Diane.
Thank you. Not an easy task, but I'll do my best.
You will shine, I have no doubt. Diane, the week that was and the week ahead for Caring for Creatures.
Okay. Well, last Sunday, we had a very successful barbecue fundraiser at the Scottsville Farmers Market Pavilion. We raised almost $2,000.
Nice.
Yay. Buddy of Buddy's Banging Q provided all the food, served up his barbecue plates, and it was by donation only. And I just would like to thank Buddy, the Good Works group out of Scottsville, who coordinated the event for us. And for everyone who showed up and participated. It was a really great event, and I thank you.
I love it. Much needed money for Caring for Creatures,
gosh, it goes,
especially in the summertime.
It went to our medical fund. Always a huge need. So.
Other news from the notebook from CFC.
Okay, well, I have a couple of pets that I would like to feature.
Okay.
I'd like to head off with Beauty.
Beauty.
She is a beauty. You'd love her, Dr. Friedman. She's a black lab mix, very labby personality, but shorter legs than your typical lab. She's about 5 or 6 years old, bubbly, very friendly. We think she's had some basic training. She came up from a high kill shelter in South Carolina, was picked up in a rural community. It just amazes me, these wonderful animals that just show up at this high kill shelter and no one looks for them, you know. But she's just amazing, and she's wowing all of us every day. She's only been at Caring for Creatures about a month. As I said, I think she has had some basic training. She's full of that lab energy, but when she rushes up to you, there's no jumping. She just sits politely, waiting for her next cue. I think she's a really wonderful dog. I think she'll make a wonderful addition to a family with children. I don't think you can go wrong with Beauty.
I love it. Beauty's on screen. You can find out more about Beauty at caringforcreatures.org. Submit an application to rescue Beauty from CFC.
Absolutely.
If I know you, you have another animal you'd like to spotlight on the show.
I do.
Who do you have this time?
Ron.
Ron! The dog's name is Ron.
Oh, it's not a dog, it's a kitty.
Okay, the kitten's name is Ron.
Oh, I could probably spotlight about 30 other dogs.
I know you could.
But I'll stop.
But it's a 30-minute show.
I know, so I'll just kind of hold myself together. Ron is a orange tabby kitten. He's about 3 months old. He came to us about 2 months ago. Interesting story. A guy was riding along Route 6 on his motorcycle, and he pulled off to check his phone, and he looks down, and here's that little kitten.
And there's Ron.
There's Ron.
Okay.
And he was kind of banged up. He looked pretty rough when he came in, but he's looking a lot better now. I personally, I do like him. He's in Mary's office at a condo right now.
Okay.
So when I go in there to see Mary, at first he's a little shy, but then he comes around and he'll poke his little paw, through the cage. Loves to play, loves toys. I think he's going to be a wonderful kitten for someone. He reminds me of a kitten that came to us a few years ago, another orange tabby male. They usually are males. And he was found in back of a church by the dumpster. A boy found him. And we found out after we brought him in that he had been surviving on bugs.
On bugs?
On bugs.
Dang.
Real survivor, just like I think little Ron is too. And P.S. Charlie got adopted his name is Charlie now. He got adopted into a wonderful home, and I'm sure that Ron will follow suit and do the same.
Caringforcreatures.org. Submit an application if you'd like to adopt Ron.
He's not on our website yet.
He's
because
coming
he's
soon.
Brand new. He's coming soon.
Yeah. Mary Burkholdt says it's great to see you, and you're doing a great job. She just left
hi,
that
Mary.
Any other items in your notebook?
Just a couple events coming up. It's not our event. It's Patty Bowden's Dog Fest, which we're always happy to be a part of, is coming up on Sunday, September 29th at IX Park. We're really looking forward to it. It just gets better every year. Another event coming up is Pet Supplies Plus is having their 3rd annual Fall Festival. Then it's the Pet Supplies Plus, obviously, in Charlottesville. All proceeds from that day will go to Caring for Creatures and to the Louisa Humane Society, which is a great group of people.
Susan Blakeney says maybe human Ron needs kitten Ron as an adoption. Susan, thank you for watching from South Carolina.
Hi, Susan.
You did a great job with
you.
the items of the notebook right there. Dog Fest. I'm going to be one of the judges at Dog Fest on September 29th at Ixhard Park, powered by Animal Connection. You have welcomed 2 fabulous people to the show. I've known this gentleman for years. My first time interacting with you, Dr. Long. Why don't we go ladies first? And Dr. Long, if you could, A, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. And B, introduce yourself to the viewing public.
My name is Jenna Long. I graduated from the University of Georgia. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs!
And married a Marine, so have traveled around a little bit. Spent a year in North Carolina on the coast, practicing in small animal medicine and surgery. Then moved out to the opposite coast to San Diego for 4 years, where I continued in small animal medicine. And my husband got out of the Marine Corps and brought us back here to Virginia.
When you were coming to Virginia, were you like, Virginia, we're moving to Virginia? Or were you like, you know what, I've done this already. It's just another move for me.
Yeah, exactly. So my dad was in the Army, so I've moved around my whole life, so bring on another move.
I love it. Dr. Friedman, 40 plus years.
Yes.
As a veterinarian, 40 plus years working with numbskulls like me who think they can adopt 2 German Shepherd brothers 6 months apart and bring them into a house when I have to grind for most of the time. And you're like, really?
I
Really?
give you a lot of credit.
You give me a lot of
You've got
credit.
good endurance.
You're a good man, Dr. Friedman. Who is Richard Friedman?
Compassionate, loves to teach, both in and out of the practice. I love relationships. People are my life. So are the pets of those people and those that don't have pets. And outside of practice, I'm also a personal trainer, and I enjoy that. It's similar business, relationships, trust, helping people, and then I've got collections that are kind of silly, coin-op games, childhood games, diner menus.
Dr. Friedman.
Sometime it's going to be right to dispose of those things, but I never saw a diner that I didn't want the menu.
I'm going to give you some props. I see this guy at ACAC, and he is like working out in the area where all the muscle heads go and work out, okay? And he is literally running circles around everybody, pulling people over and saying, this is a better way to do this workout than what you're doing now, and really challenging people to be better versions of themselves, which I would bet you do at your practice, you do in fitness, you do just about any time you come across someone in life, is try to encourage them to be a best version of themselves.
I won't argue that, and it's not that my way is from my head. It's from years of building networks of relationships with colleagues that are far more advanced than I am in certain areas. And I think that as a profession, we're growing so fast that I've really come to rely on these people to help me, and then my job's kind of to play it forward if I can.
Get you in the mix, Jenna.
Yeah.
What's it like working with Richard Freedman?
It's been wonderful. So it's definitely been a change coming back to the East Coast. And so it's been really nice to kind of dive back in and have a colleague that I can go to and ask questions, bounce ideas off of, discuss interesting cases, and really kind of dive in and find out what's going on.
Diane, jump in here. What are you thinking about what you're hearing so far?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful to have committed veterinarians in our town. You serve a tremendous, tremendous service to our community. I know we lived here years ago, and I remember Dr. Friedman's office being here back then. So tremendous. And I also want to thank both of you for being our show's sponsor and for being such a good friend to Caring for Creatures. You guys have been going out and doing your Yappy Hour patio events during the summer.
That's cool.
And the proceeds from the raffle have been coming, go to Caring for Creatures. So thank you so much.
How about 40 years in business? Can you give us the evolution of the brand? I mean, we're 11 years, 40 years, it's admirable. I mean, it's amazing.
It has changed, and
How about the flip book of the business, how you started it?
I had come here, it's a secret, but when I left veterinary school, my intention was to go out to the state of Oregon, where I had been offered a college football coaching job.
Really?
And yes.
I had no idea.
Well, nobody does. And I had been a strength coach for 2 years, back when we knew nothing. And so I flew out there, I took my state veterinary exam, but really that's not why I went. I ended up here, I like university towns, worked for a little bit, and found a piece of property I thought at the time would be a good site for a hospital. And I think interest rates back then were 18%.
I was going to say, yeah.
But I happened to find a group of people that had some belief in me, and so they were willing to lend me money at about 10%. And I built the practice. I modeled it after a practice in Boulder, Colorado. The design at the time was award-winning, and but over the years, I've evolved in terms of doing something different in almost every aspect every couple of years. Took a lot of management, took a lot of CE at Virginia Tech, which I will be forever grateful. And I like hearing from people who's doing the real heavy lifting. I'm the meat and potato guy. Tell me what to do, tell me why to do it, teach me how to do it, and I'll do it. And so, the practice has changed, but I still like coming to work every day, and I love using my brain. I like using my hands, problem solving, kind of going on the hunt. And I talked with Dr. Long earlier in the week, about just that. I'm not going to solve everything. And if I don't know something, I always tell people, you'll be second to know, I'm the first. And I like to live by that. So that's kind of the evolution to today. People ask me, they're worried about, are you going to retire? And someday, but I'm still enjoying
You'd be so bored if you did that. You would.
Well, I'm not going to be a full-time trainer either.
That's right.
Have more time for those diner menu collections.
Yeah, and then more time for Dr. Long. Got some autonomy in the office away from you, right? Let me throw this to you, Dr. Long. How about being a vet? What got you into the business in the first place? Have you always wanted to be a vet?
I didn't. Growing up, everyone always told me to be a vet. I loved animals. I rode competitively growing up. But I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But in 8th grade, my horse actually colicked, which is when they get in a severe abdominal pain. It can be caused by a lot of different things. Had to rush him to a vet school to have emergency surgery. And I was actually fortunate enough to be able to watch through a surgical viewing window. And at that moment, I knew I was hooked. I loved science, I loved animals, and just wanted to be able to help them. And so from then on, I changed kind of my course and started working at a vet practice in kennels, and worked my way up through the years and went straight to vet school out of college. And so knew that's what I wanted to do.
What are your favorite aspects of being a vet?
I think the big part being a veterinarian is we get to promote the human-animal bond, and that relationship between people and animals is so important. We do that by communicating and teaching our clients about their pets, by diagnosing and treating if there are any diseases that are there, and just helping them make the most out of that relationship.
Least favorite aspects of being a vet?
Probably the financials,
Yeah.
that it comes down to money a lot of times, and that's really sad. I understand that's what, today's world, I mean, we're all in that position. We don't have unending, finances. And so it's just, that can be hard when that becomes kind of that rock that we're stuck against, is trying to help a pet with that difficulty.
What do you think, Diane?
Well, I think that when she was talking about the connection with the animals and working with the humans involved, I mean, that's a lot of what we do at Caring for Creatures. We help people understand how to make better lives for their animals. So there's a real connection there in what we do.
Angela C., Diane, you're a natural high from Kathy and Angela. We're listening from I-95 right now in the car. Give it a like and a share on any of the streams that you guys are watching the show on. Dr. Freedman, I think I know the answer to this. Your most favorite aspect of this is the interacting with the people.
Yes. First of all, I'm probably the worst at letting dogs do what they want, like jumping up to say hello. I kind of encourage that. And there's nothing more joyful than walking in the room and getting the muzzle greeting with the nose banging you around a little bit to get your attention. But I think relationships with people and really being genuine all the time and demonstrating that you care. I have kind of a phrase that I use with my young doctors, and I try to lead by this, and that is, we can't always be available, but we ought to try to be accessible. And so people are counting on us. Sometimes hard to separate life and job, which is important, very important. But people want to know they can count on you, and I think today trying to build loyalty is very important. And so I still think that in life, and Jerry, I just look at the things we've done. I would never dream of walking by you, without coming over and literally giving you a hug, how's Lauren doing, etc. That's real, and I like going through my days knowing that still sticks with me.
I love that. And I think that's why people are drawn to you, is because it's authentic and sincere, and it's like really what you're about.
There's nothing up my sleeve, so to speak.
Well, you're wearing a short sleeve shirt today. You're showing off those
A little
forearms.
tight.
Yeah, a little tight, Dr. Freedman.
I know.
Is that a medium?
Yeah.
Actually, you're between
extra
medium
small.
and large, Dr. Freedman. You are always challenging yourself. Talk to us about this experimental cancer vaccine that you're working on.
I'm working with a company in Connecticut. The owner, who is an absolute dog lover, had a golden retriever, and the golden retriever had cancer. And he could not understand why we didn't have a solution. There's no chemotherapy. And this guy was the college roommate at Notre Dame of a good friend of mine. That friend was one of the best veterinary surgeons I know. I happened to be on the phone with him 4 years ago, and he's telling me about this. And it's about immunotherapy, which is the future. They have a human side they're looking at. So this is a vaccine 3 doses, as effective without the side effects of many of our chemotherapy protocols, about 10 to 20% of the cost of chemotherapy protocols. And I probably have 15 patients that have had it. Of those 15, 2 we had nothing else to offer, but many of those patients died from other causes. They survived past what they would have survived with some of the other modalities we had, with quality life, and it's exciting to be part of it. Tomorrow I'm going to be interviewed by a national magazine within the profession, along with the president of the company, just about this and what we see going forward. It's going forward in human medicine, and it just excites me to be on the cutting edge.
I love it. I think you challenge yourself to be the best version of you on a lot of different ways. I certainly see it in the gym. I'll throw this to you. My German Shepherd, the experience I had with you, Max, my youngest one, ripped the skin off his knee. Remember this?
Mm-hmm.
And you took the skin from his belly.
Yes.
And then put it on his knee.
Yes.
I brought him into y'all's practice, and the skin was like flapping on the ground, and you could see the muscles, the tendons, all the blood, everything. I mean, it's pretty gruesome.
Yes.
And you're like, I got this. I'll take care of this. I'll make him back to normal. And you did. And a lot of vets would not have done that surgery. They would have referred him to somewhere else.
I know.
Talk to us about that.
When Virginia Tech was first getting started, I befriended the head of surgery down there. Turned out to be a very good friend. And he invited me to come down there whenever I wanted and spend time following him around. And then a couple years later, another friend of mine down there who was a surgeon was doing a book, and it was about surgery and anatomy, etc. And he asked me to come down and do a lot of the dissection. And then they would have a guy come in and take photographs, and then they would draw diagrams in the book. I still have the book. And the skin surgery was, he was well trained in plastic surgery and reconstruction. And so I learned so much from him, and again, it was just exciting to have that tool in my toolbox. And so that's where I learned that. And crazily enough, I was telling Dr. Long this early in the week. I said, please don't do what I do. And she looked at me and I said, don't drive around and think about surgery procedures and what you have to do and how you do it. But there's probably a time every day where I'm thinking about, okay, how am I going to approach this upcoming procedure? And this kind of technique lends itself to what I'm doing with the cancer vaccine. You have to resect the tumor. The tumor vaccine is specific to that dog's DNA, so you can't use it for the same tumor type of another dog. And so we take the tissue, we send it to the lab, we get a readout of what it is. I recently had a dog where I don't need the vaccine. It was malignant, but it wasn't high grade. And so the vaccine would help, but it's plus or minus, whereas other cases it's going to be very beneficial. And again, it's only 3 doses, very reasonable, and the results have been very positive.
Diane.
Well, I think it's all about being progressive in your practice, and clearly you haven't stood still for 1 second in the last 40 years, and it shows, and just huge kudos for that. You're bringing so much to the community, and we're such a dog-friendly community, animal-friendly community here. I just think it's wonderful and exciting.
Mary Burkholz, to both vets, you both have helped animals overcome illness. What have you learned from the animals? that you have helped? That's a good question for you, Jenna.
Ooh, that is a good question. What have we learned from the animal? I think we learn something every day. That's a big thing in veterinary field is, as we've kind of explained already, that we don't know the answers to a lot of these cases. Some of these are very tricky, confusing. Our patients aren't able to talk to us or tell us exactly what's wrong. So every day we have to get out there, talk to different people, look up different, solutions to these problems. And our patients, I think every day, those pets, they show us so much love. I mean, a lot of them come in hurting, sick, and they still just want to lick you, be petted, be loved, and show us that even when they've been through the worst or they're feeling the worst, they still just want to interact with people. And it's something that I think humans could really take a note of and be a little more loving themselves.
Is there a breed or a type of animal you like working on the best, and one that you like working on the least?
I would definitely say I'm probably more of a dog lover.
Okay.
My true passion is horses, but I work with small animals. So, but I think dogs certainly. Breed-wise, I really like, it's so hard to say. I've grown up, I love labs. I grew up, my dad was a hunter, and so I've always had hunting labs in our house. To this day, he still has a lab that he goes hunting with. And so that breed and their loyalty and their devotion to the owners and the tail that never stops wagging is just something that I really love and have such a joy being around them.
How about you, Dr. Freedman?
I love blockheads.
Yeah?
I
I've
grew
heard
up-
you say that before.
Anything with a big
I grew up with boxers.
Did you breed
And
German
I
Shepherds?
bred German Shepherds. And good memory, Jerry. But I love pits, and I love American Bulldogs. And just on the way down here today, I saw somebody walking an American Bulldog over at McIntyre Little League Field. And had I had time, I would have stopped, parked the car, gotten out, and asked to pet the dog. They are gentle. Yesterday we had Benton in, who just finished chemotherapy. Benton comes in and he starts singing, give me attention, and he's built like a bag of cement with a head that's like a cinder block. And how could you not just want to be all over that? And it's kind of like the dog you brought here today. How could you not want to be all over that? So I love them. I like labs and Goldens, but I also like little dogs. People are always going, like, how odd is that based on having been an athlete? But we were dog sitting one of our children's little Bichons a couple weeks ago for 2 weeks. And he's not the brightest dog, but to have him on the bed and then he'd bury himself head first under the covers just to be next to you, not on the bed, on the covers. No, it's got to be under the covers. That's joyful for me. And I think when I lose that, it'll be time to hang it up.
How does your competitiveness, and you're an extremely competitive guy, you love sports, you love UVA sports. How does your competitiveness manifest itself in business?
I would say it doesn't.
Really?
I would say it only shows itself as a professional and my development personally. So it keeps me, I don't want to ever set the bar for anybody. You set it, I'll help you get there. And I tell people, even when I'm training, don't compete with me. I'm not competing with you. I'm always going to be competing with myself.
Love that answer. Diane, what are you thinking?
I think that's the only way to approach a lot of things in life is don't compete with other people. It's all about what you bring to the table and how you can help, especially in the case with animals. And what you said, Dr. Long, about they can come in, they can be hurting, and they're just so loving. And we see that all the time with these dogs that have been abused and abandoned and have gone through terrible, terrible situations. And I guess that's what got me hooked. One of the many things that got me hooked on caring for creatures is that, oh my God, I mean, these guys, they come in, they may be a little shy at first and not trusting, but it doesn't take long for them to open up their hearts, and it's a joy to see and be part of.
Dr. Long, what's an everyday, walk us through like an everyday at the clinic?
At the clinic?
Yeah.
So we come in.
What time do you get there?
Around 7:40, 7:45. So we're there before we open, and we get together as staff to do what we call rounds. So we talk about what's coming in that day, what surgeries we may have, what patients are coming in. So everyone's on the same page. We want to make sure we're as prepared as we can be for anything that may happen. Kind of divide up the tasks. And then we get ready for the day to start, and we start seeing appointments or go into surgeries. And so we do that all morning, and then have a lunch break per se, but most of the time there's not really much of a lunch break. We're normally doing records through lunch or potentially still seeing patients. There can be emergencies that walk in, and then we go back into more appointments throughout the afternoon. So everything's different. Every appointment's different. Nothing is ever the same. Sometimes it says an animal's coming in for a wellness visit, and they walk in and it's not a well pet, or you may find something. We're always, that's why you're coming in. You're not just coming in for a vaccine. You're coming in for us to do a thorough exam so we can find those little things, try to catch something early, and that way we can help your pet.
Caroline Graves, this is great. You guys are the best vets ever.
Woo.
Just left that comment. Give it a like and a share on any of the streams that you're watching. Just like Susan Tortora, Carol Germain, and Amanda Conzier. Sorry if I'm messing your last name up, Amanda, but thank you for watching the show. My wife is watching on Long Island right now, and she insists that I ask this question.
Okay.
Our dog Leo, Dr. Freedman, is it your worst patient on your active roster? Leo is like, what, a 90-pound, all-black German Shepherd that is a little bit reactive.
Lauren, I don't want to break your bubble, but the answer to that is definite no.
He's not the worst?
No.
Really?
Not even close.
You handle it so well. And she went there with our son the last time, and I probably should have gone. He gets very protective, Leo does, of our son. So maybe that's what was showing up in your waiting room, and I apologize. But really, he's not the worst?
No.
Really?
Yeah. Here's what's great. When an owner can recognize that their dog has behavior issues and not defend them, because behavior issues are not normal. They're a part of our practice every day, and they're very challenging, one of the most challenging things. They take a lot of time. They take a lot of commitment. Some issues are not curable.
Right.
They're dangerous, some of them, and they're dangerous to the staff. They're dangerous to other people out in public. So again, Lauren, please understand, I'd like you to have that trophy, but I'm not going to hand it to you today.
You handle those situations so well. Are you like the closer in baseball that has to come in with that, the bases loaded, you got to come up into pitch with 2 outs in the ninth? Is that your role?
That may have been in my youth, but I don't think that's the way it is now.
No?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
Do you? How do you handle that situation?
The situation being with a pet.
90-pound German
Yeah.
Shepherd losing its.
Every situation's different, and you have to find what works for that pet. Sometimes it's as simple as just taking them out of the exam room with their owners. As you said, your dog is more protective of your son.
Yeah.
So just getting him out of that situation, back in the treatment room where he doesn't have an owner to protect, isn't in a little small space, feels like he's not being kind of closed in on.
Yeah.
And sometimes that behavior completely changes in that moment, and all of a sudden they're easier to work with, and we're able to kind of get things done that way. Some dogs, they are better with their owner, so sometimes you do have to have the owner hold, otherwise it can be more dangerous, or be in the room at least with us. So you kind of have to just go slow and see what works for each pet, because it's not a blanket statement across the board.
Do you get scared?
Not really, no.
Really?
No. I mean, your heart will start beating fast in some situations, but we know how to put ourselves in kind of the best scenario and protect ourselves, one, thing, but also know when to say, okay, we're not even, we're not going to put ourselves in a position to get hurt. So if we need to say, okay, this is not working, let's try something else, come back another day, try different things, it may have to be that way, because we're not going to let ourselves or our staff or a pet owner or a pet even get hurt.
Do you get scared, Dr. Freeman?
I don't think so, and I agree with Dr. Long. I remember a long time ago, and I say this to myself, I saved this dog's leg and life, and it was a mistake because the owners loved the way, this was a man-eating German Shepherd, came in with a Hannibal Lecter stainless steel basket muzzle, and even in that, he was frightening back then. And I think back, I can remember the whole case, and I thought, what was I thinking? We know a lot more now, and it makes it a little easier to think about. And one of the things that happened in veterinary medicine is some really bright people, again, in the background, figured out certain medications, whether they be oral or injectable, that can really give us a little bit of a hand up on the patient, and that helps. You just have to have enough time to kind of figure things out, and the patients, again, who wants to feel anxious? And think about that for a dog or a cat. It's a terrible emotion.
Yeah.
What do you think, Diane?
Well, before, and I never thought about that, because I've brought dogs to vets, and sometimes they'll take them in the back room, and I've always wondered why, but now I know. And it makes sense that they would be, some of them would be protective of their owners. So that makes a lot of sense. And it's got to be scary. I mean, has there ever been a time when a dog has come in and its behavior surprised you, so you had to act like really quickly on the spot?
Oh, certainly. There's been times in the middle of an exam, the dog's, wagging their tails, seemingly super playful, and you'd make one move, and I've had, a dog turn around, and next thing I know, I'm, pinned on the ground with the dog on top of me. It's the first time we had seen the pet, and it had been fine for the first 15 minutes, and something that I, did was not okay with that dog. And so you have to then step back, react, and come up with a new game plan. And that we said, okay, we're, done today. Let's have you come back. And as Dr. Friedman alluded to, we do have that option of sometimes sending home a medication, because no one wants their pet to be anxious and it's just as setting for them as it is for us and the owner. So trying to make it as easy for everyone involved.
Why don't we close on this? You guys have filled 40 minutes easily. Is there going to be, what's the next 40 years look like for your practice? You're going to be what, roughly 82 years old?
Yeah. What I hope it is a legacy. I can be forgotten. That's not a big deal. But I hope the level of care continues to advance over time, and that people desire that level of care. It's hard to put a price on value and skill and expertise, and also I hope that the people working there continue to push themselves. There's no such thing as perfect, and I'm not even sure about excellence. I read a quote from a friend of mine. We do some online consulting work together, and it just was in the last 2-3 weeks, and he said, "This is an imperfect success." And I thought, wow, that's interesting, and I knew what he was talking about, but I love it. And so you don't have to get it all right to have had a successful career.
That's right.
Well said.
Absolutely.
Very well said.
Yeah.
You guys crushed it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thanks for
you.
having
Thank
us.
you. We will take the show, we'll archive it in totality on ilovecville.com. We'll take the audio and turn it into a podcast on iTunes. We will syndicate the show for 30 days starting tomorrow on 17 Facebook pages, 17 Twitter accounts, an e-newsletter that goes out to 108,000 inboxes, and a website that reaches almost 250,000 people each year. This is the Caring for Creatures show. Go to caringforcreatures.org, get involved, donate, volunteer, adopt, caringforcreatures.org. It's the first no-kill animal sanctuary and rescue in Charlottesville and Central Virginia. And it was founded over 30 years ago by Mary Burkholtz in Fluvanna County. Enjoy your afternoon. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Wow.
John.
Wow.
John.
You even question him.
You knew you were going to do great.
It's like his natural.